The first part of the state capture report has been handed over to President Cyril Ramaphosa. The contents thereof dissected by journalists and the public alike. Many are now asking, when are we going to see prosecutions of some of those named and implicated? Now joined by Justice Albie Sachs, former Constitutional Court judge. Justice, good to have you with us this afternoon here on the Daytime Update. Does it go to say, first and foremost, that now that the report is out, there will be automatic action as per the recommendations of the report?
Right, you're putting me in a bit of a spot here because there'll certainly be action, and it will be contested action, and action that will go could very well involve litigation. And as a former judge, I don't want to comment on that aspect at all. What I'd love to do is just to share with you some thoughts as a former judge on the significance and meaning of the report and of the work that Acting Chief Justice Raymond Zondo has done. So I'm afraid I'm ducking your very, very first question.
Let's talk then about the report itself. First, the significance of the fact that, of course, there was this possibility that President Cyril Ramaphosa could be implicated himself in this report. But as it was delivered, it was then immediately released to the public. So in essence, what the president was reading and what the public was reading was almost similar at the same time.
Yes, the tradition in the past has been the president appoints, or it was then President Zuma who made the appointment, and then the successor would receive the report, mull over it, maybe spend a few days, maybe a few weeks, few months, sometimes even a few years before reporting to the public. In the present situation, happily, the president has agreed to allow the report to come out within hours of his receiving it. And I think it's the first section of the report. I'm personally glad the report is coming in chunks because it's 870 pages just for the first section. It gives us a chance to get into it. I haven't read it yet. I've just seen excerpts from it. But it means we can familiarize ourselves with a very significant portion. It gives Raymond Zondo a chance to present the second report and then finally the third report. It also gives the public a chance to familiarize itself section by section. And I must say, I felt a huge sense of release and relief when that first report came out. At last, at last, at last. We've been watching now for years, and I must pay tribute to Newzroom. You've been one of the best in terms of inviting the public to see what's happening. So the Zondo Commission has already had a huge impact because we've seen it live. We've seen it on our screens. We've heard the witnesses. We've seen the allegations that have been made, the evidence that's been given, and we've seen a total denunciation of corruption as something normal or acceptable in our society. So even before the report comes out, the hearings that we've had have been enormously impactful. I'd like to mention that I've personally, as a former judge, been very impressed with the style of presiding over the proceedings, the thoughtfulness, even the voice. Some judges have very stiff, kind of pompous voices. Raymond Zondo speaks in a very clear way. We followed it all the way through. He's shown a lot of patience. In spite of some very sharp attacks on him personally. So I think that's all been impressive. I've also found it very impressive, the quality of the counsel who've been appearing, sometimes cross-examining the witnesses, often presenting the evidence from very, very backgrounds. One of the areas South Africa is rich in is legal skills, thoughtfulness, capacity to present arguments. So that's all been enormously educational. So up to this stage then, I would say there's been a huge accomplishment, something that's triggered by the Constitution, not by a political head wanting to take a position against political opposition or vice versa, but by the public protector, Julie Madonsela, heading an institution which was created by the Constitutional Assembly in 1996 to deal precisely with the kinds of issues that have been dealt with. And she made the recommendation, exercising her constitutional powers, that a commission of inquiry be set up by the then president under the powers that the Constitution gives him to investigate state capture. So it is very important the origins. The origins were not in any party political feud or debate. The origins came from a report made by an independent person, Thuli Madonsela, fulfilling her constitutional obligations. Step by step.
Sorry, Judge, let me just come in there. In history, what would be the impact then of this? I mean, is it, in your recollection, a first of its kind type of report that would implicate high-profile politicians and business people on a broad scale, including implicated here is the former president of a country?
It's important to remember and recall that it wasn't President Cyril Ramaphosa or then Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa who established the Commission of Inquiry. The Commission of Inquiry was established by President Jacob Zuma in terms of a requirement that was obligatory on him that came from Thuli Madonsela, the public protector, fulfilling her constitutional responsibilities. So it wasn't as though the Commission of Inquiry then was established in order to deal with political opponents of anybody in power at the moment. In fact, it involved the investigation into the activities of the president himself, but he accepted that he was bound in terms of the Constitutional Court ruling to accept the recommendations of the public protector, that he himself couldn't appoint, in terms of his own discretion, the person who should head the commission. He called upon the then Chief Justice Mogoeng to appoint the person, and the Chief Justice appointed the Deputy Chief Justice, who, interestingly enough, had been appointed to the position of Deputy Chief Justice by then President Jacob Zuma. So I think it's important to remember those origins. Now the President Cyril Ramaphosa has certain powers. If he followed tradition, he could sit on the Commission Inquiry report for as long as he reasonably felt necessary, but he has acceded to a very widespread demand that the report be released almost simultaneously with his receiving it. And I think it was a very wise decision, and it fits in with the kind of openness that we South Africans require and want in situations like this.
Judge Albie, I appreciate your time and thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Sorry, you'd have to speak a bit louder.
I'm saying, Judge, thank you very much for your time and joining us today on the Daytime Update. We'll leave it there for today. I appreciate it. That is former judge of the Constitutional Court there, Judge Albie Sachs. Now,